While travelling on the train and watching Netflix on my phone, a meeting notification flashed up on my screen. Another urgent meeting. As the pop-up slowly disappeared, I had a sinking feeling that the meeting conflicted with another on my calendar. Checking my calendar, I realised that it did conflict with my long-delayed interview with Jackie, the head of Asia Pacific Divisions. I wasn't surprised that my boss, the chief, as we called her, had at the last second decided she needed my presence. She had a sixth sense when one of her staff was attempting to further their careers. Once, when I was sitting at the same lunch table as another director, she had called my mobile phone with a desperate request for a document I'd emailed 2 weeks before. Now the chief seemed to have done it again. This would be the second time in 2 weeks that I have had to cancel on Jackie. I didn't deserve to be treated like this. I couldn't put up with it any longer. I just wanted to quit. If it weren't for the fact that my partner and I were trying to buy a house and had been scrimping and saving diligently for months for a deposit, no trips to Bali, no smashed ovo at the cafe, I'd even cut back on buying real coffee, resorting to that pod coffee stuff they had in the office kitchen. I was pondering how I would yet explain another cancellation to Jackie. It had been much easier to flee bad bosses when I was without responsibility. I recalled one episode when I'd gleefully resigned by screaming at a terrified manager who'd micromanaged me. But now I was 28, in a rotten economy. Quitting wasn't an option. Entering the office, I got myself ready for this urgent meeting. As I took the lift up to the meeting room floor, stepping into the lift, I bumped directly into Jackie, almost knocking her to the ground. Sorry,
important meeting with bigwigs. I can't stick around.
I saw my application on her tablet, and relieved, I asked, "So, should we reschedule today's meeting?"
Today?
She was wearing blue jeans and a weird purple top. For a senior general manager, she seemed to be out of touch with the other executives when it came to dressing. And she seemed to have forgotten our appointment. But if she was taking my app to the leadership committee, who was I to complain?
I'll have Mike set up something.
She headed off to the executive level.
Nice of you to join us, David.
The chief walked in, late, as usual. We called her the chief because she had worked for the government where almost every manager, junior or senior, was called a chief. She had moved to the private sector to become a manager at this company. The chief's voice sounded like toad's beak strangled at midnight. It haunted my dreams, and whenever I bent to retie my shoelaces, I could hear her croak of her catchphrase, "We've got a lot to do."
We've got a lot to do.
Like she was reading my mind.
So, Darren,
who I'd known for years, rattled through his status report in 2.5 minutes, with including several "as you have approved" and "as you asked us to do," thus preempting further inquiry. It was one of the methods Darren had developed to manage the unmanageable chief. The next few participants aimed to be concise. Occasionally one would misstep, and the chief would ask,
and why would you do that?
Rajiv was near the end, and I roused myself for whatever bullets he might shoot my way. Just yesterday he had yelled at me over the phone. "Where are my numbers? You know Louise wants them." He liked to call the chief by her first name, which I found unsettling, as if she was just another member of our after-work basketball team. I'd explained to Rajiv that the chief had specifically directed me to consolidate her numbers with those from other departments. "My numbers?" He'd shot back, arching his eyebrows. "These are the statistics on shipping costs for the whole global enterprise worldwide." I thought better than pointing out that global and worldwide were synonymous and that whole was redundant. He was clearly under stress. Now Rajiv was seething over my report on the meeting room table like a psychopath. "I've been working on the new reports for shipping, and I'd like to see if they work in the new app." His way of dealing with the chief was to be insanely cranky, the more angry the possible, so that the chief wouldn't ask him to do anything. "We really need to fix this app so it actually works properly. Better yet, we should just buy one that works." Hey, did he just take a swipe at me in front of everybody?
Excellent, but we've got to keep this meeting moving. I've got an important announcement.
She was skipping Rajiv, and by default me. I didn't know whether to be offended or thankful that her intense dislike of public confrontation saved me from having to defend myself.
Today, I'd like to recognize an employee whose contribution to this department's success has been significant and is an example to all of us of the results you can get from dedication and resolve.
She held up a plaque. Me? Could it be me? My app had been well received by Jackie.
I think you know who you are.
Maybe the chief hadn't praised me before in order to save it all for this public commendation.
Katie, please stand up.
I coughed too loudly. Katie? The intern?
Katie has done the unimaginable. She completely fixed my inbox, reduced my email from 50,000 to 200, and programmed my computer to automatically delete the junk mail that I get.
I was sure everyone was thinking the same things. She dragged us all here for a summer intern whom she'd hired because her father was the head of sales. Another quarter hour was then spent with the chief's reminders that we all have big responsibilities and we've got a lot to do, and then we were free to go. As I stood to go, the chief shouted,
David, come by my office before you go at 5:30.
When I arrived, she wasn't there and I had to wait. By 6 p.m, she still hadn't arrived. Of course she'd vanished. I'd once spent 2 hours waiting by the chief's lolly jar before James came by and told me he'd seen her leave the office a couple of hours before.
David?
It was Barb, Jackie's assistant.
Jackie apologizes. She had to head out to Zurich tonight, but she wanted you to have this.
She placed an inter-office mail envelope in my hand. The string had been wound tightly around the button and taped over for security.
What's in your hand?
The chief had snuck up behind me. A medical form from HR.
Your back's not acting up again, is it?
I recalled how she'd handled my back injury. The doctor had advised injections and physical therapy. The chief had given me a heat pack and a heads up that people have been talking about how much I was working from home. I shook my head.
Well, good. I need you in top form. We've got a lot to do. Several things.
She had her tablet in her hands and was looking at my app. I took out a notebook.
First, the red is too strong, too negative. Make it lighter.
More pink.
No, not pink. Just lighter red.
She had complained that the last version was too pink, not masculine enough, and sometimes it made no difference. She flipped a few more screens.
I thought you were going to make this better.
On screen 3, the graphs are now 3D and updated live. Her exact instructions had been, make it sexier. How do you make a purchasing app sexy? The chief examined the new graphs.
Tim's group puts 6 lines on each graph. Can we do that?
Well, not even a hawk would be able to read that. But my coping mechanism was capitulation. So I replied, I'll put that together for you.
Good.
She said and leaned back.
Now, I'm just thinking that we haven't had a performance review discussion in a while. Where do you want to be in 5 years?
As I contemplated how to respond to this giant pothole of a query, more likely from an annual HR reminder, she turned her attention back to the tablet and began typing. Well, I found my time here.
Darren, what's the number of Karen in finance?
I knew from experience, Darren would knock on the chief's door and say, Do you need anything? When the chief yelled. So I would like...
Okay, so I'm going to need that updated app before tomorrow's meeting with Karen.
I'll get it to you right away.
Good. You know what I want?
She didn't leave already, did she? Like a manager about to have a personal discussion. Hey, what's the envelope? I tore off the tape and string. It's an offer letter from Jackie. Darren raised his eyebrows. I read it quickly, but wait, this couldn't be right. Hang on, it says level 10. I'm already level 10. I handed it to Darren. Yep, a horizontal move. Same pay, same level, just not working for the chief. I couldn't believe it. Jackie's a senior GM. She can't have a level 10 working for her, can she? Apparently she can, and you should take it. Darren swigged his coffee. Whatever Jackie's like, she's got to be better than the chief. And maybe she'll get me promoted later. Maybe, but if you don't take it, you'll never find out. Darren returned to his desk. I wandered aimlessly into Ruth's cubicle, pondering what it would be like to get away from my tormentor.
Lost?
Sorry, just thinking.
About Jackie?
There was no secrets among assistants.
So is it a good offer?
It's a lateral move. She looked around to see if anyone was coming.
Don't take it.
But you know how difficult it is to be here.
I know that they pay me, and I know that if you don't get more money when you change jobs, then you'll never get a raise.
But maybe Jackie is different.
When you've been here as long as I have, different is a relative term. Do you remember when Louise first got here?
It was true. She had been different then. She'd given several employees gifts of pens and post-it notes.
She was expecting a promotion. Then her boss got moved to Tasmania, and Michelle took the top job.
I realised she was right. When the chief had lost hope for her own career, she'd become the downward-focused micromanager who loomed over our days.
Bosses come and go. In the meantime, it's a job. Do it well and go home. I do, and so should you.
Suddenly we heard footsteps in the hall, and Rajiv strode in. I quickly excused myself, explaining that I had to work on the revised app. Make sure it gets done properly. That night, in bed watching Netflix, I thought, should I stay with a known bully or go to Jackie, who seemed better, but perhaps only because I hadn't yet worked for her? And what about that offer? It implied that Jackie wanted my app, not me, and as a result, I wouldn't get any more pay or respect. At 6 a.m. Monday morning, my phone rang.
David, why haven't you answered my emails?
Don't
worry about it. I just wanted you to know that I was looking through your latest app. It's good work. Really good.
A compliment? It was nice to hear, even at this hour.
Can you be here at 7:30 a.m. to walk me through it?
Should David make the lateral move into a job with uncertain prospects and a boss he doesn't know?